A Boolean, often called bool in PHP, is the simplest data type in programming. It represents a binary truth value that can only be one of two states, true or false. Conceptually, it acts like a switch, either on true or off false. Because so many program decisions are binary, is a user logged in or not, is an item in stock or not, did a test pass or fail, Booleans are fundamental for controlling program flow and implementing logic. When you read code that branches with if, while, or ternary operators, those constructs are evaluating Boolean expressions to decide what happens next. In PHP, you represent Boolean literals using the words true and false. PHP's Booleans are case-insensitive, so true, true, and true all work the same. However, by convention, most PHP developers write them in lowercase, true, false, for readability and consistency. You assign them to variables just like other types, for example, isNew wang true. That creates a Boolean variable named isNew, which you can then test with if isNew ba. Booleans are most commonly produced as the result of comparisons and logical operations. Comparison operators like on return Booleans, for example, B yields true if A is greater than B. Logical operators combine Boolean values and shu or, and, not are used to build more complex conditions, e.g. if isAdmin and isActive, high, runs only when both isAdmin and isActive are true. A very important PHP-specific topic is truthiness and type juggling. PHP will implicitly convert many non-Boolean values to Boolean in conditional contexts. Values that evaluate to false include the Boolean false itself, integer 0, float 0.0, empty string string 0, empty arrays, and null. Everything else generally evaluates to true. This convenient behavior can cause subtle bugs. For example, a function that returns 0, 0 might be treated as false in an if test, even if 0 is a perfectly valid and meaningful result. To avoid that, use strict comparisons, shastars and by, which check both value and type. For example, if result EB8 false only matches the Boolean false, not 0 or B using Booleans for state flags, like the isNew example in the image, is a common pattern. If you have isNew true, it clearly documents the intention. This variable is a Boolean flag representing whether the student is new. In conditional logic, you might write if isNew, to show welcome steps, else, existing student flow, she. For clarity and maintainability, name Boolean variables so they read naturally in conditions. isActive, has paid, is verified. Names that imply yes, no questions make the code self-documenting. There are some best practice tips when working with Booleans. Prefer explicit initialization, isNew nakern false, or true as appropriate, rather than relying on uninitialized variables. Prefer strict comparison when testing for the Boolean literal, true or parsed false, if you need to distinguish Booleans from other falsy, truthy values. And avoid returning mixed-type values from functions when the caller expects a Boolean. When writing public APIs, document whether a function returns a Boolean or another type to reduce confusion. For debugging and readability, it helps to print or log Booleans in a way that's obvious. Functions like var dump value show bool true or bool false, whereas echo value would print 1 for true and nothing for false, which can be misleading. Also consider using explicit conversions when needed. Bool value casts a value to Boolean, while boolval value is a readable function call doing the same thing. In summary, Booleans are tiny but powerful. They represent binary choices, drive conditional logic, and are produced by comparisons and logical operators. In PHP, true and false are case-insensitive constants, but beware of implicit conversions and falsy values like 0 and null. Use clear naming, initialize flags explicitly, and prefer strict checks when you need to distinguish a Boolean from other values. Doing so will make your code safer and easier to understand. In this example, we are learning how Boolean variables work in PHP. First, we create a variable named $bool_var and assign it the value true. The line reads as $bool_var equals true. Next, we use the echo statement to print this variable. In PHP, when you echo a Boolean value that is true, it displays the number 1. So in the output, the first line will show the number 1. Then we use the function var_dump, written as var_dump. This function shows both the data type and the actual value of the variable. In this case, it will display bool true, which clearly tells us that this variable is of Boolean type and its value is true. Now we create another variable called $bool_var1 and assign it the value false. When we try to echo this variable, PHP will not show anything, because when a Boolean value is false, echo displays an empty string. Finally, when we use var_dump again, it will display bool false, confirming that the variable is Boolean and its value is false. So the final output will be first line 1, second line bool true, and third line bool false. In summary, when a Boolean value is true, PHP prints 1, and when it is false, it prints nothing. If you want to see both the type and value clearly, you can use the var_dump function. This simple script helps you understand how Booleans behave in PHP and how they appear in your program output. A string is simply a collection or sequence of characters, letters, numbers, or symbols that are enclosed within quotation marks. In PHP, a string is used to represent text values such as words, phrases, or sentences. For example, "Hello, Steve" is a string that contains letters, a space, and an exclamation mark. In PHP, strings are usually defined in two ways, using single quotes or double quotes. Both can hold text, but they behave slightly differently. Single-quoted strings display the text exactly as it is written, while double-quoted strings allow the use of escape sequences and variable interpolation. For instance, if you write "hello name," PHP will display it exactly as that, but if you use "hello name," PHP will replace name with the actual value of the variable. The text also mentions that PHP does not natively support Unicode, which means it can only handle characters from a limited 256-character set based on ASCII or extended ASCII. This limitation means that PHP, by default, cannot properly represent complex characters like emojis or non-Latin scripts, such as Chinese or Arabic, without using additional extensions like MB string or UTF-8 encode. Strings in PHP are textual data enclosed within quotes, used for storing and displaying text. They are one of the most commonly used data types in PHP, allowing developers to handle messages, names, and any kind of written content in their programs. In PHP, when you write a string using double quotes, the text inside is pre-processed before being shown on the screen. This means that PHP looks for something called escape sequences. These are special character combinations that begin with a backslash. Each escape sequence represents a special action or a symbol that cannot be typed directly. For example, \n represents a new line. It moves the text to the next line. \r is called a carriage return. It moves the cursor back to the beginning of the line. \t adds a tab space, often used for indentation. Some escape sequences are used to show symbols that PHP normally treats in a special way. For instance, $$ shows the $ itself instead of treating it like a variable. \double quote allows you to place a double quote mark inside another double quoted string. And \\\, displays one single backslash. For example, if you write in PHP echo open quote, "hello \tworld\n," this is a test close quote semicolon. The output will appear like this: hello, tab space, world, then a new line, and this is a test on the next line. These escape sequences help you control how text is displayed in your output. They make it easy to add spaces, new lines, and special symbols inside strings. PHP automatically replaces them with their real meaning when the program runs. In PHP, any name that begins with a $sign represents a variable. When you write a string using double quotes, PHP automatically looks inside that string to find any variables. If it finds one, it replaces the variable with its actual value before showing the output. This process is called string interpolation. For example, if you write $name equals quote Steve quote semicolon and then echo quote hello space $name exclamation mark quote semicolon, PHP will replace $name with the word Steve. The output will be hello Steve. But if you write the same thing using single quotes, PHP will not replace the variable. It will just print the text exactly as it is, showing $name instead of its value. Code Snippet 7 demonstrates this in action. It shows how PHP uses strings, variables, and escape sequences together to create formatted and dynamic text. In simple words, PHP automatically replaces variables inside double-quoted strings with their real values, making it easy to print text that includes live data. Let's understand how this PHP code works. In this example, we are learning how strings, variables, and escape sequences behave together in PHP. The code starts with the line header open parenthesis quote content type colon text slash plain quote close parenthesis semicolon. This tells the browser to show the output as plain text, not as HTML. It helps us see the escape sequences clearly. Next, a variable is created named $name, and it's assigned the value quote William quote semicolon. So now $name stores the text William. Then, another variable is defined $str, which means $string. It is assigned this value quote. $name is displayed \n quote semicolon. Let's break this down. Because the string is written inside double quotes, PHP will try to process both variables and escape characters. $name will be replaced by its value William. But since there are two backslashes before the letter N, PHP will not treat it as a new line. Instead, it will print one backslash followed by the letter N exactly as it appears. So when the echo statement runs, the output will show $name is displayed \n just like that. Next, the string variable is changed to, quote, $name is displayed \n quote semicolon. This time, there is only one backslash before the N. That means PHP will recognize it as an escape sequence for a new line. So when we echo this line, PHP replaces $name with its value William and adds a line break right after it. The screen will show William is displayed and then move to a new line. After that, the final echo statement prints the word goodbye period without any new line, so it appears immediately on the next line. Now let's look at the full output step by step. The first line prints $name is displayed \n because of the double backslash. The second line prints William is displayed followed by a new line. And the third line simply says goodbye. Altogether, the output looks like this. $name is displayed \n, William is displayed, and goodbye. This code teaches two very important lessons. First, variable interpolation, which means PHP automatically replaces variables inside double quotes with their real values. And second, escape sequence handling, where a single backslash followed by a letter creates a special character, like a new line or a tab. If you use two backslashes, PHP prints them literally instead of converting them. In short, Code Snippet 7 shows how PHP combines variables and escape sequences to produce formatted text output. It helps you understand exactly how PHP interprets strings inside double quotes. In this code, the line header open parenthesis quote content type colon text slash plain quote close parenthesis semicolon is used to tell PHP that the output should be shown in the browser as plain text instead of HTML. This is important because, without it, the escape sequence \n would not create a new line in the browser. It would just appear as plain text. However, if the same script is executed in a command prompt instead of a browser, this line is not required. Next, a variable named $name is created and assigned the value William. When this variable is used inside a single quoted string, PHP does not replace the variable with its value. It simply displays it as it is. The same happens with escape sequences when used in single quotes. They are shown exactly as written and not processed. That's why, in the first echo statement, the output appears as $name is displayed \n. PHP treats both the variable and the escape sequence as plain text because they are inside single quotes. On the other hand, when the variable $name is used inside double quotes, PHP processes both the variable and the escape sequence. In this case, the variable $name is replaced by the word William, and the \n creates a new line in the output. As a result, the echo statement prints William is displayed, followed by a line break. This shows how PHP treats single-quoted and double-quoted strings differently. Single quotes display everything as literal text, while double quotes allow variable substitution and escape sequences to work properly. In PHP, an array is known as a compound type. It is a single variable that can hold multiple values, usually of the same data type. In simple words, an array allows you to store a collection of data items using one variable instead of creating many different variables. In PHP, an array acts like a built-in map that connects values to keys. Each value in the array has a unique key that helps you access it easily. By using arrays, programmers can write cleaner and shorter code because they don't have to define separate variables for each piece of data. For example, instead of making 5 different variables for 5 student names, you can store all of them inside one array and access them whenever needed. Arrays are also very convenient to work with because you can use loops to go through every element stored inside the array. This makes it easy to display, modify, or calculate data stored in bulk. Arrays can also be sorted, and searching for specific data becomes much simpler. In PHP, the array type is very powerful and flexible. It can represent many data structures like lists, stacks, queues, hash tables, collections, and dictionaries. This means whether you need a simple list of items or a more complex data mapping, you can use arrays to manage it efficiently. Arrays make PHP programming faster, easier to organize, and more efficient for handling large amounts of data. In PHP, arrays are created using the array function. The array language construct allows you to create a list of elements that are stored as key and value pairs. Each key is like a label that points to a specific value, and every pair is separated by a comma. You can add as many pairs as you want inside the array. The general syntax looks like this: key arrow value, key 2 arrow value 2, key 3 arrow value 3, and so on. This simple structure lets you organize and access data efficiently. For example, if you want to store the names of fruits, you can create a variable called $fruits and assign it an array that contains different fruit names. PHP makes it very easy to check what's inside the array using the var dump function. The var dump function displays both the data type and the values of each element stored inside the array. A complete example of this process is shown in Code Snippet 8, where $fruits represents an array of fruit names, and var dump is used to show its full structure and contents. This helps you understand how arrays store data and how PHP manages key and value relationships within them.